Welcome back to the lab, y'all. It is your Professor Pilk, and of course, as you guys already know, we have Chesnaught coming in this weekend as the latest 7-star raid. Chesnaught will drop actually Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and is a grass fighting type, but will also have a rock Tera type. Now, the main things you want to remember, that means that all rock moves that he utilizes, which he will utilize, will have the stab effect. Basically, will have just an extra boost to them, and defensively, this unit is going to act like a pure rock mon. Now, that also means that any grass moves and any fighting moves will also have stab effects. So essentially, you've got 3 different types of attacks that you really need to watch out for. And that actually gives us a ton of coverage. But let's talk about this mon before we really get into the movesets and all that. So I said, use grass fighting with a rock Tera. It's not a particularly heavy mon, but it definitely isn't a lightweight. You know, at nearly 200 pounds, this mon is definitely, going to win some of those weight class advantages. So if you're looking to use one of those moves that gives you a weight class advantage, you better bring a heavy mon. Okay? If we go down here to some of the rest of the information, though, first things first, know that Chesnaught doesn't have a huge amount of HP, but does have an insane amount of physical defense. Now, because of this, and because of the fact that he will definitely be a physical attacker. If you look, 107 physical attack with 74 special attack, I find it highly unlikely that Chesnaught will have very many special moves, if any at all. They have switched that up before on us. They've given us special moves, but I don't think those are really need to be worried about. I think you're going to be fine for the most part with any special attack. And we'll get into that when we get to the builds. Also, notice special defense is really low too. So when you're talking about building a mon for this, you really want to build a mon that has a little bit more speed and has a really good special attack. And because of the typings and all that, that actually becomes incredibly difficult. Now, obviously we have this up here. Pardon the ads, I apologize. We obviously have, this typing schedule up here, but because it's going to act like a rock Tera, you really want to just consider this basically a pure rock Pokemon. So the standard rock weaknesses will be the rock weaknesses. Grass and water won't add much to it, but like on the defensive side, they don't add much. But on the offensive side, that's going to give Chesnaught a ton of advantages. So the really interesting part is there's a wide range of move specs. Now, obviously, you have fighting moves, you have grass moves, you do have rock moves. Here we've got rollout, but I don't think rollout's actually going to be the one. We'll talk about movesets here in just a moment. But so there's a ground move, there's actually a ground special move. Lots of status effects. We go down here to TMs, there's a good number of status effects that actually could be available. So let's go ahead and jump over to the movesets and just kind of surmise what moves we think are going to take place. So per usual, last night I stayed up with some of the guys in the Discord. Big shout out to all them for helping out on this. And if you want to join the Discord, link will be in the description down below. We don't just cover Pokemon there, we just cover all realms of gaming there as well. But when it comes to this moveset, I want you guys to understand that this is not set in stone. We do not know for certain what is going to happen. This is just the closest presumption that we have to what is going to basically be affected here. And unfortunately, I didn't quite get this list down here correct, but we'll cover that here in a moment. So first things first, we know with a rock Tera, there will be some rock moves. Now, initially, my thought was rollout, right? Like, rollout makes a ton of sense. But being that Stone Edge is one of the moves that this Pokemon can learn, and it is a base power of 100, only 80% accuracy, but that, we've definitely seen Mon before, Raid Mon especially, with, I say low accuracy, but below 100% accuracy moves. So Stone Edge definitely is a distinct possibility. Now, what I'm mostly worried about here, more even so than Rollout. Now, Rollout could be a possibility. Rock Slide. Rock Slide is only base power 75 with a 90% accuracy, but it can induce flinch. And we have seen that before. We've definitely seen situations where the Pokemon that you're facing, the raid bosses, can actually induce, maybe not flinch. I don't know if we've seen flinch per se. I think we have, but I don't recollect off the top of my head. But we have definitely seen status effects. We most certainly have seen status effects. So Rock Slide is one of those moves that I'm actually a little leery of, because Rock Slide gives us all the effects of rock. Okay? Offensively, that is, that's covering ice, bug, flying, and fire. So you've got 4 types alone right there that have a lot of coverage. And with flinch, that really is going to limit your options here. Now, notice all these moves are physical. I ruled out all special attacks just because I really felt like special was a poor choice for this Pokemon, but they could always mix it up. Now, for grass, the 2 that I thought were no-brainers were Woodhammer or Trailblaze. I really feel like most likely we are going to have Woodhammer. That is a base 120, 100% accuracy. But the thing you need to know about Trailblaze can double in power. So Trailblaze definitely could be a scary, scary thing. Do also note, and I'll go down here now to the lower section here, because once we're talking about grass, we could easily have a situation where Grassy Field could be inflicted at the very beginning of this match. So if Grassy Field's inflicted and Trailblaze hits its mark, then that means that you could have a really, really, really powerful hit on your hands. Because remember, that's going to have stab. If it has the percentage boost, you're talking about a base power of 100. Grassy Field, that's going to add another, 30, 40% to that damage. It is going to be wild. It is going to be absolutely insane. Trailblaze could hurt very, very badly, even maybe more so than Woodhammer. Now, Woodhammer does have recoil, and we've seen attacks with recoil before. I don't know that that is a hindrance or what, but I'm kind of thinking Trailblaze is most likely what this Pokemon's going to have. So I'm thinking Rock Slide or Trailblaze might be your most likely, but Stone Edge and Woodhammer are both very, very likely situations as well. It doesn't change a huge amount. It just really is, offensively the types of things you need to watch out for. So what I'm basically getting at is you need a Pokemon with a huge amount of physical defense, or ways to get around this. We'll get to that when we get to the builds. Now, we're going to have fighting moves. So low sweep is a distinct likelihood. Body press maybe even more so. But those are definitely, they're very, very similar moves. But I think body press has some secondary effects. I don't recollect off the top of my head, but I believe body press has secondary effects that would actually help out significantly. So high likelihood of all that. Now, if I just kind of clear these out here just real quick, we'll just delete all this because it's not hugely relevant at the moment. That means that we have coverage for rock, ice, dark, bug, steel, fire, ground, water, and normal. That leaves just a handful of Pokemon that will be able to take on this event. Now, with a rock Tera type, you'll be super effective with grass, steel, fight, ground, and water. So when I went into this last part of the assessment, I kind of went into this like, what would I do? How would I add maximum coverage? Because obviously when you go into these raids, you do want attacks that are super effective, but we have seen them completely shut out super effective attacks before. So you do want to be on guard with that, okay? Grass and fight both get covered up if you use a flying move. Aerial Ace is a flying move that this Pokemon can learn. It's only base level 60, but it does not miss. If Aerial Ace is in this build, you will have no super effective attacks at all. Period. So that means you will have to basically go at this just from the standpoint of essentially, trying to buff up your mon and use whatever attacks are at your disposal. So that is something to be aware of. But there was a lot of contention as to whether or not Aerial Ace was going to be utilized. Now, I like it. I think it's going to cover up all the Tera types, or I'm sorry, all the super effective types, but there's no guarantee that that's actually what we're going to see here. Now, the other thing you'll see up there is Poison Jab. Poison Jab actually leaves fighting moves on the table, so you will be able to use some fighting moves if that is the case. So, very handy that. But Poison Jab could hurt a lot and could, I believe that actually could leave you with status effect. I think it can. But it will absolutely decimate grass types. So you definitely, don't even want to mess with that at that point. Zen Headbutt is kind of the opposite. It leaves grass on the table, but it definitely eliminates the possibility of using fighting moves. So 6 of one, half dozen the other. The other one that was really interesting, is Crunch. Crunch, or there was a lot of talk about maybe even having Earthquake. A lot of this kind of works in conjunction. One of the builds we really thought about, and we'll get to it here shortly, was Goldingo. And Dark will actually eliminate Goldingo from the realm of possibility. But it's the only move that would eliminate Goldingo from the realm of possibility. So while Earthquake would give you a similar type of coverage to Dark, the reality is Earthquake and Dark would basically have the same coverage. Dark eliminates the capability to use Goldingo, and Goldingo is a great Pokemon. So I kind of feel like they would use Crunch over Earthquake, but I could be shocked on that. Now, you guaranteed it is going to have Spiky Shield. And here's the real downside of that. If you use a physical attack on the turn with Spiky Shield, you will take an insane amount of damage. Spiky Shield will also eliminate a lot of the incoming, if not all the incoming damage on the turn that it is used. So I think it's going to be used very sparingly. I would imagine it's going to be used. It probably won't be used when the shield is up, but it'll probably be used like right at the beginning of the turn, things like that. So when you see Spiky Shield go up, there's a 100% chance that Spiky Shield is going to be there, because Spiky Shield is Chesnaught's signature move. So expect Spiky Shield. Bulk Up's a distinct possibility. Bulk Up is a status move that I think is extremely likely. It'll increase the Mon's attack power and durability, but it really only works on the physical side. So if you're using special attack, I don't believe Bulk Up is really going to have a huge effect there. I honestly feel like Spiky Shield and Grass Field are really the two ones that you want to watch out for the most. Leech Seed could be there, but I give that a very, very low probability. But I wouldn't rule it out. Now, you'll notice that that means that we have 3 grass and 1 fighting potentially in the moveset. So if you want to know, essentially the moveset I kind of expect is one of the rocks that we've chosen, one of the grass we've chosen, one of the fighting we've chosen, one of these 4 just to give some extra type coverage. I'm kind of leaning towards Aerial Ace, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was Crunch. Those are all distinctly possible. But what they do is they give you those 4 basic moves, but then they also could do up to 4, or 4 is the maximum we've seen at least, status effects. So 1, 2, or even all 4 of these status effects could be secondary attacks on this Pokemon. Because remember, if you go back to a lot of our other builds, Charizard had 4 extra moves on top of the 4 he already knew. Charizard knew 8 total moves. I believe Inteleon had 2 extras, so Inteleon knew 6 moves, 2 of which were status, 4 of which were attacks. That included Mist. So there's a lot to consider here. So I think one of each rock, or one rock type, 1 grass type, 1 fighting type, and then one of these 4, highly likely, with Spiky Shield being guaranteed and almost assuredly in that extra slot down below. We'll know on Thursday, but that is my approximation. In either Bulk Up or Grassy Field, if they do or both of them, then probably Leech Seed will be in there as an extra bit of just extra line of defense, for lack of a better way to put it. So what types of builds are we looking at building here? Build number 1, I like Oranguru. Oranguru essentially, for all intents and purposes, is the Slowbro build we built a few raids ago. The only difference is Slowbro having that water type is going to get absolutely clobbered in this. So I would shy away from using Slowbro. Oranguru's basically built exactly the same way. Inner Focus will give him a lot of defense. Twisted Spoon is going to increase the offensive ability. Reflect will increase your physical defense. Psychic Terrain will increase your damage output. Calm Mind will actually bulk up your Mon. So essentially Calm Mind is, I say bulk up, but Calm Mind will actually increase your special attack 2-fold. So basically use Calm Mind 3 times. Basically come into the match, use Reflect, Calm Mind 3 times, Psychic Terrain, stored power. You will likely one-shot this Pokemon. If not one-shot, pretty darn close. It's literally just like the Slowbro build, but for covering the water deficiency. Now we talked about Goldingo. Goldingo's another build that I think is highly likely. The ability Good as Gold is going to give him a lot of defense. Metal Coat will increase his offense quite a bit. Use Metal Sound to debuff your opponent. Nasty Plot to buff yourself, and then Make It Rain will just rain down terror upon your opponent. No brainer. A Steel Tera with Goldingo and Oranguru. Oranguru being a Psychic Tera and Goldingo being a Steel Tera. I don't know if you'll actually get the Tera types off. If you do, great. But if you don't, it is what it is. Now, with Goldingo here, I put Recover in the last slot because if you need some healing, you can do that. Oranguru is just literally going hard. Oranguru is one of those that if you like with Annihilate, but some of those, you could take a single loss, come back and rebuild from that, so long as you just produce damage upon damage. Goldingo has the opportunity to do some recovery, and recover is going to be really, really, really solid. I said solid option for this Pokemon. So I really like Goldingo. Now we're going to get into some of the strange builds. Now, before we get into this build, I just want to say we've had all these Raidmon and very little to do with them, right? Like, you get them in the game, you collect them, it is what it is. I like having the ability to utilize the Pokemon that I've been getting from these Tera Raids, especially in other Tera Raids. So, when it comes to Decidueye here, Decidueye's Overgrow is going to give him, once again, a bit of a buff. Shell Bell will basically, as he's producing damage, also give him some health back. Giga Drain is another thing that basically will give you a decent amount of health regeneration if you need it. Then just the usual. Nasty Plot 3 times, and then just spam Grass Pledge. It's another no-brainer build. Now, here's the real interesting part about this. Goldingo, I said it before, but if Crunch is in play, Goldingo's out of the picture. If Aerial Ace or Zen Headbutt are in play, then unfortunately, this guy's out of the picture. The final build is probably the weirdest and probably the most unorthodox, but I'm really excited to build this out. The Hisuian Zoroark. Now, Hisuian Zoroark is available. You do have to, well, you can get lucky in the Wonder Trades, and maybe we'll come up with a method. If you guys comment down below and you actually want these guys, let me know. I'll breed a ton of them, and we'll do a whole stream this weekend where we just give tons of these guys away. We'll just do a very special stream, maybe even several streams over on Twitch, where we just give tons of these guys away. But if you have already pre-registered for the expansion packs, you get a Hisuian Zoroark, and a lot of people have been shiny hunting this guy. Hisuian Zoroark, with the illusion ability, is the only ability you can really get. Shell Bell, once again, will give you healing based on the amount of damage you're outputting. Here's the greatest part about Hisuian Zoroark. You've got, once again, Nasty Plot, and that's literally just, your self buff. Bitter Malice is going to hit hard, and we'll go into these builds in a little bit more detail later on. But Bitter Malice is going to hit really, really, really hard. But if you set up with Will of Wisp and you keep Will of Wisp in play, that is going to eliminate a lot of the incoming damage. So essentially, Will of Wisp puts up like a wall of fire between you. You're not using it to increase like fire output, but you're really just using that as a defensive structure, kind of like you would use Reflect or something. I put Fake Tears in a fourth slot here because you can use Fake Tears to debuff your opponent, but I really feel like with Nasty Plot and Bitter Malice, you kind of have everything covered, but it just is an extra line of defense. So there you guys go. I like that build. I think that build would be super fun. Will it be effective? That I do not know. The sad reality is if Crunch is in play, this will not be a thing. But with a Ghost Tera type, you'll probably get that off after your third Bitter Malice, and then you'll probably wipe him out the fourth or fifth attack. It also depends upon how often Chesnaught removes our buffs or his own debuffs, but at the same rate. Very, very interesting stuff. I'll cover these builds once again. If you have any builds that you would like to see me analyze, put them in the comment section down below. Like, comment, and of course, subscribe, guys. We're trying to build this channel, and I appreciate everyone's help on that. And I'll catch you guys for more Pokemon Scarlet and Violet coming up really soon.